The Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, June 2nd meeting of the Westport Select Board. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. I just have some acknowledgements. We want to recognize the people who put together the Memorial Day ceremonies. They ordered up a lovely day. It was a beautiful day with just enough wind to make the flags look nice. But I especially want to thank Carol Freitas, our Veteran Service Officer, the veterans organizations that put the event together, the VFW, the VVA, and the American Legion, and the Honor Guard. I want to thank the cemetery department. It looked great. The cemetery looked great. The mowing is done. It looked really nice. And then I also want to thank the scouts who were there and the Westport Middle High School band who played, and then everybody who participated in putting flags at all the markers. I think there was something like 1,500 flags went up at cemeteries across town. So thanks to everyone who put that together. Is there any other acknowledgements or recognitions before we move on? The public hearing, the petitioner is not here, and they're requesting that we continue the public hearing. So I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing for the Verizon Gas. Do I need to read? I don't need to read the whole thing. No. I'll entertain a motion to continue until June 16 at 6:05 p.m.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good job, Jake. Jump right in.
I was trying to get you early so you
Thank
didn't have to read everything.
Appreciate it. 2A, we have a request from the Westport Food Pantry for a one-day all-alcohol liquor license for their summer social to be held at Weatherlow Farms, 845 Sodom Road, on Saturday, July 19 from 6 to 8. We do have the paperwork and a favorable police report on file. Is there anyone here to talk about? What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. We have a request from Coastal Wine Trail of Southeastern New England for a one-day wine and malt beverage permit for their annual Farmers Market Festival at 200 Pine Hill Road on June 14 from 11 a.m. to 7:30. We do have the paperwork and a favorable police report on file.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. We're going to pass over to C. The applicant has asked to be moved to another meeting. 2D, we have a request from the Holy Ghost Club, 171 Sodom Road, for one-day all-alcoholic liquor license for 179 Sodom Road for the following events. Saturday, June 14, a concert from 3 to 8. Saturday, June 21, Pride Day from 12 to 6. Saturday, June 28, a fundraiser from 10 to 4. These are the normal ones we get from Holy Ghost, and we do have favorable.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Appointments and resignations. So we have a request to appoint Ray Raposa to the Open Space Committee as the Agricultural Commission representative and Lisa Fadelberg Costa as the Commission on Disability representative. Is there anyone here? Do we have a member on the Open Space Committee?
Well, I'm the member, but we haven't met yet.
Oh, okay. All right.
Move approval as recommended.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Was the Board of Health going to be here?
I don't know. I have not.
Paula, do you know? Okay. We have a request from Matt Armendo, the Board of Health Director, to approve the employment agreement for Linda Pierce, the town nurse. So this is a yearly contract renewal with just a 3% increase in the hourly rate. Do you have a recommendation, Jim?
Recommend approval.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from Matt Armendo, the Board of Health Director, to appoint appoint Colin Haslam as a transfer station foreman effective June 5, 2025. Jim, do you have a recommendation?
Recommend approval.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
No.
I'm
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous.
I'll go first if you want, Shauna. Keep
It helps,
straight.
it does help Paula with the minutes
All right.
if it's the same, but
I will take-
if you don't want to, you
As long
don't
as I don't
have to.
have an issue with what I'm making.
If you don't have, do your conscience. Request from Matt Armendo, Board of Health Director, to appoint Gina DeSanti as Assistant Animal Control Officer effective July 1.
Motion.
Jim, do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, recommend approval. Matt spoke very highly of Mr. Santa.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
You try to work it out in advance, you know?
I'm excited we have an Assistant Animal Control Officer. We haven't had one in a long time. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from John Resendes, the Community Television Director, to appoint Julia George as Production Assistant effective immediately. Jim, do you have a
Yeah,
recommendation?
she's been doing some of the work over there, and John spoke very highly of her. I'd recommend approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from the County Commissioners of Bristol County to appoint an advisory board representative. Richard Brewer is our current advisory board representative. Are you willing to continue serving?
I'm willing to continue, but I'm not opposed to somebody else who wants to improve their resume.
Anybody else want to? So it would be appropriate to move Dick,
Motion to approve.
you have to move Dick Brewer.
Oh, motion to approve Dick Brewer.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Now we have Beverly Bish. You want to come up? We have a request from Beverly Bish, the Council on Aging Director, to appoint Janet Scanlon as Supportive Day Program Level 2 aide. Welcome, Beverly, and I assume you are Ms. Scanlon.
I am.
Welcome. Beverly, you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, Janet started with us as a volunteer, and we had a position available, so she applied for the position. And I'll let Janice talk a little bit more about herself, because I don't have as much information over the paperwork in front of me.
Well, I'm retired, and I worked for South Coast Health Systems for 48 years. I just love being with people, and I love working with the elderly people, although I'm getting there myself. But they're just so sweet, and I just like being there and taking care of them, and it's just made my day, you know, so
Excellent.
I really like being there.
All right, great. And Beverly, so this is budgeted position?
It's, yes, it's budget, it's grant funded, it's all grant funded.
Okay.
Grant funded and fee-based.
Jim, do you have a recommendation?
I recommend approval.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the
Motion
board?
to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Bev, do you have any other stuff going on over there? at
I just
Council on
had this,
Aging?
we passed this out to everybody. We've been doing our strategic plan, and in our strategic plan, we added for our mission and our vision that the senior center would be the center of the go-to place, and we did it sort of visually so that people can see. And on the outskirts, you have basically the four departments, the outreach department, the activities, the supportive day, and the transportation. And then around it, you have a lot of the questions that come to us and why people get to us. I'm turning 65, help, what do I do, you know? I need a ride to my doctor's, how do I get that? Can I get a ride shopping? Is there respite for my loved one? Where can my mom or dad go during the day? So all of those, where's the exercise classes? All of those things come in, and it's just a visual to show that this is sort of what we're going to do and how we want to market the senior center over the next year or so, with our goals and objectives to get out there and to reach a lot more of the people. There's, right now, 55 and older, there's just about 8,000 people in town that are 55 and older, and that's 50%. A little bit more than 50% of your population. So we know that we're going to get a lot more, we're going to get busier, we're going to have a lot more services that are needed, or expectations or questions. So we want to be geared up to what we can do, and with expansion or whatever else that we need to do. So, and I'm lucky enough, I mean, we are lucky enough to have, we're one of the only COAs in the state that has 23 staff. We have 23 staff. The town pays for 2.5. All the rest are grant funded. And a lot of the COAs have maybe 4 staff, 5 staff. Some have 10 or 12. And even some of the cities don't have as many. They're like, how did you get 23 staff?
A lot of grant
Well, we had a lot of grant funding, a lot of writing, and people do, like Janet, people do love coming to work with us because it's a friendly place and people walk in and they feel welcomed and they like being there and they make friends and it's not just, it's social. It helps with, mental health issues. It helps with, loneliness and isolation and depression and all of those kind of things. So people really do, and it helps with some of the needs when you need taxes done, when you need help with your Medicare. So those are the kind of things that we really want to make sure that we focus on and do. But I just wanted people to see this. We'll be sending this out to folks so that they have it, and we try to do outreach to people that don't know about us. We still get people that come in the center and say, I didn't know you did that, We had a joint meeting today. Dick Brewer was there again today with us. We had our board meeting. We had our joint meeting with the Friends. And one of the ladies that's on the Friends board said, she came in and she had no idea that we did what we did. She had brought her mother in. And actually, Tony Custodio, who's a retired police officer, and he's now on my board, he said when he first came into the senior center, he thought it was going to be like the typical, nursing home where it smells like urine and people are in the hallways just, sitting there. And he's like, it's so not that at all. But that's what people think about because it's called the Council on Aging. And that's what people think, that's what we are. And nothing can be further than the truth from that. So.
Well, thank you for all you're doing over there. Does anybody have anything for Beverly?
I just had a quick question, John, is that all right? So Beverly, on this and all the services you provide, what is the best that you're figuring out outreach? Because like my mother, she's in her 70s and, wasn't aware of what happens there. I mean,
Right.
Obviously a lot of these people probably aren't on
No.
social media. I mean,
No.
is it actually spending money on direct mail? And what's the answer?
We've done surveys where we've done direct mail surveys to people to see what they needed, especially during COVID, to find out what they wanted for technology. So we've done some of that. One of the things that I wanted to do, and then COVID hit, I wanted to go door to door with my outreach staff. I have to work with the police department so that people can wear tags to say it's okay, and have like 2 of my outreach staff each go door to door, because we have addresses for people. And do like, years ago, and I know I'm dating myself, years ago, a welcome wagon. Remember people did that? Where if somebody moved into the neighborhood and they brought you something? Well, for us, it would be a basket with some information, just to introduce us, not to go in the house, not to do anything, but just to introduce ourselves and to say. And I think that would really hit home for a lot of people who are still in the older bracket that don't know about us and don't really get on social media. I have a newer position that the Personnel Board did approve. It's going to be a communications and community relations coordinator. It's going to take the place of my assistant director who's been out for 6 months, that position. I have to bring it before the board to approve it. The personnel board already did. And that's what she's going to be doing, is doing that. And I thought the door-to-door thing, too, might also, meet the people's needs and reach people that don't know about us, because we still get people that walk in and say, wow, I didn't know you did that. I didn't know you had this class. I didn't know you did exercise. I didn't know you did taxes. I didn't know you had a podiatrist that came here. So it's that kind of outreach that we do. We've done cold calling before too. We did a lot of cold calling. I had 36 pages of 75-year-olds and older during COVID. We had 36 pages of people that we called to make sure that they had their COVID vaccine if they needed help. And we probably reached just about 1,000 people, and we had a COVID vaccine clinic with the fire department and the police department and the EMTs at our center, along with driving people to other places. And every single person, I physically made phone calls to people to say, do you need any help? And every single one of them said, thank you for not forgetting about us and reaching out. And some of them had already had appointments because of their family made appointments, but some of them didn't know what to do, I had a gentleman whose wife was bedbound, and he couldn't leave the house because he didn't have anybody else to help. And the nurse that came to her would give her the vaccine, but he couldn't get the vaccine, and he's like, what if I get sick? So we called the EMTs, and we talked to Brian Legender and asked if we could do homebound people. And the EMTs went out to the house and they did homebound. So it's about reaching out, doing it that way, you know?
No, it's great if you have someone focused on that.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. Anything else for Beverly?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
3H, we have a request from Chris Gonzalez to appoint Kelson Kalunga as a seasonal employee. Jim, do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, I'd recommend approval. Chris has been trying to get somebody on board seasonally to help with some of the grass cutting and some of the other tasks here at the highway department, so I'd recommend approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. And we have some more of our regular appointments. I'm gonna just read them, and if you want to put a hold on them, just say hold, but otherwise we'll just do them in bulk. So for the 2026 appointments, we have Richard Brewer for the Audit Committee, 2 years.
Hold,
Oh, you're holding. It's you. Evan Gendro for the Audit Committee for 2 years.
hold,
William Underwood for the Beach Committee for 3 years. Roger Menard, Board of Appeals, 5 years. Marie Fontaine, Council on Aging, 3 years. Jason Camara and Samuel Ferreira, Plumbing and Gas Inspectors, 1 year. Keith Dias, Recreation Commissioner, 3 year. Paul Burke, David Gonzalez, William Plamondon, and Dane Winship, Wire Inspectors, 1 year. So that's everything except the 2 Audit Committee. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Dick?
The purpose of the hold, Madam Chair, was to simply provide additional information to the Select Board. This has to do with the Audit Committee, and there is a bylaw regarding the terms of the Audit Committee members. They're intended to be 3 years once the committee got going, but they were staggered initially. And for some reason, Paula pointed this out to me, that there was the prior terms were not correctly lined up. So if these 2 actions are approved, then we would have 1 person coming up in 2026, 2 people, myself and Mr. Genro, in 27. We already have Mr. Paquin and Mr. Thrasher coming up in 28. So then we'd have the proper sequence. It's technically not in line with the bylaws to do this, but it's certainly well within the intent, which was to have staggered terms. So I wanted to explain that in case anybody cited that and said it's not correct. It is correct if one looks at the intent in the original town meeting article that produced that. So that's the background.
Okay, so you're, but you're recommending for the Audit Committee 2 year, that's correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
I don't know, does someone move that? Dick moved that.
So moved.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from Keith Novo to appoint Carlos Ariel as part-time information technology technician. Jim, do you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, this position's been in the budget for just over a year now, and it's been unfilled. I know Keith went through a number of applicants, reviewing their applications. We actually interviewed 2 candidates. I sat in on the interviews. Carlos Ariel seemed qualified for the position. He had a good personality. I think he worked well. It's going to be kind of an end-user type position, so we'll be working in Town Hall and the annex. I'd recommend approval. This would be a part-time position under 20 hours.
Sean, I just have a question. So you're saying, is this more forward-facing with the public or just for support
It would be
staff?
more support staff.
Okay.
Hoping to work with the department, setting up files,
Okay,
telling us how to manage things a little bit better.
thank you. Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye, that's unanimous. I'm recusing myself from 3K, so Dick is going to take over the discussion for that one.
So 3K is a request from Bonnie Strebel, Library Director, to appoint Ryan Farley as Library Aide 1 and Rebecca Farias as Principal Clerk. I'll first ask for a recommendation from the Town Administrator, then I'll ask Ms. Strebel if she wishes to speak.
Yeah, I only reviewed the applicants, the information that they submitted. They seem more than qualified. I recommend approval based on Bonnie's recommendation.
Ms. Strebel, would you like to come forward, if you're so inclined?
So we had, for both positions, we ended up with almost 200 applicants. So we got some very well-qualified people, and these were our top 2 choices, so we're thrilled that they agreed to come work with us. Ryan lives in Westport and is already a library patron, so she knows the building well already. And she has many years' experience in customer service and a background in education, which will help us with our after-school kids for tutoring and things like that. And Rebecca has basically been working in almost the same position at another library previously, so she should be able to slot right into our library. She has a background in history and education also.
So who's who?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's Rebecca and that's Ryan over there.
What is the discussion on the part of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Abstain.
One abstain, so the motion passes 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Thank you. Congratulations.
Welcome aboard.
Good luck.
Uh, 4A, we have a request from Matt Armendo, Board of Health Director, to approve the job description for the position of Shared Services Community Health Specialist and to post the position. Jim, you want to tell us about this one?
So this position would be funded through the grant that they're receiving yearly. I think the last grant was over $300,000, and they've hired 1 or 2 people, I think 1 full-time and 1 part-time previously. This position would fill a gap that's needed not only in Westport, but the shared communities that they're working with. I'd recommend approval. The job description has been approved by the Personnel Board. That was at their last meeting. It's a fairly lengthy and detailed job description, but I'd recommend approval.
I move it.
Second.
Is there any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That's unanimous. We have a request from the Shellfish Advisory Board to change the shellfishing start time to half an hour before sunrise and half an hour after sunset. I thought we approved this before, but we may have missed something. It says, is sunset included? Not see
Rick.
an email.
Rick Smith's back there.
Rick, you're here.
Yep.
Please enlighten us.
Here or there.
It doesn't matter, wherever you're comfortable.
I can clarify this.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. The Shellfish Advisory Board voted back in January, I think, I wasn't at the meeting, but they voted to change the time so that we'd comply or be the same as the state regulations, but in our, which is a half hour before sunrise and a half hour after sunset to open. Right now it's sunrise to sunset. So after discussion, we had a little bit of concern of the fishes coming in the dock after sunset. So what we decided to do was vote that we would allow, or hopefully approve, 1/2 hour before sunrise and leave the closure time at sunset. That way we know the fishes are in and safe, and we're not going out in the dark looking for them. So we would open, the effective date is yet to be determined, but we would open the shell fishing, which could start 1/2 hour before sunrise, and then it would close at sunset.
At sunset,
Each and
so,
every day.
so half
And that would
hour,
apply to everybody, commercial, recreational, everybody who has a shellfish license.
okay, and that's a change to the current, that's what you need us to vote, because that's a change to the current regulation?
I'm sorry?
What, and you need us to vote because that's a change? Because
That-
right now it's sunrise to sunset?
Right now, it's sunrise to sunset. That's a change that we voted, but somehow it never got in front of you. So
Okay.
here we are.
And and we're not open right now? Is the season open?
Oh, yeah, we're open now.
Oh, we are, okay. Okay, so we have a request to change the shell fishing start time to half hour before sunrise, and we're leaving the sunset.
Another reason that we're in favor of opening it half hour before sunrise is that it gets the commercial people out there earlier, especially in the summertime, when there's a lot of boat traffic in the river. So it gets them out an hour earlier and back in with their catch a half hour earlier, so that it's a safety issue. There's a lot of traffic on the river all summer long, so that's another point that we'd like to see.
All right, thank you.
Just a quick question, Sean. So, Rick, you're saying the state or the Commonwealth has it as a half hour prior and a half hour after sunset currently?
Correct.
So there are other communities that are already dealing with the kind of the darkness issue on the half hour. Why wouldn't we just be consistent with the Commonwealth?
Each community sets their own.
Okay.
But the state law, where
Is that similar to hunting regulations? Hunting
Exactly.
regulations a half hour before, a half
Exactly.
hour after.
Now, I can't speak for what other communities do after sunset.
Okay.
I don't know what they have for staff, I don't know what they do for enforcement, I really don't know that. But this way, we figured it would be safe for our fishers, and then on the flip side, it would get them home, especially in the winter, it would get them home, you know, before it's dark.
Okay.
All right, any other questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Do we have any discussion?
I have one more.
Okay, go ahead.
One more piece.
Wait, take
We
that
don't-
back.
Wait, do you want us to vote first, or do you want us to, you want to tell us something before we vote?
Let me tell you, then.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The question is, we have not decided on a start date for that. Now, the two issues are, we can start immediately, we could start next week, we could start July 1, or we could wait for it to be published in the rules, in the book, which means we have to republish the book. So I would suggest, as chair, that we start it probably either the 10th, which is next Tuesday, or we wait until 7/1, which is a Tuesday, which is a day of the, which is a relay day, when the relays are open. If we opened on 7/1, if we change the time to 7/1, that would put us, that would comport with our whole safety issue of getting the fishes out and off the river, hopefully a half hour earlier when the traffic, when the boat traffic gets really heavy. Otherwise, we'd have to wait until January 1, which really doesn't accomplish much between now and then.
Do you want me to-
Okay, so you're recommending that we change this to be effective July 1?
Correct.
All right,
I'll change my motion. So obviously, I make a motion to approve the shell fishing start time to a half hour before sunset, sunrise, and then to sunset on July 1.
Second.
is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Anything else, Rick?
That's it. I'm
Right.
going away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
4C, we have a request from John Morris, post number 145, to revise and approve the lease agreement for property located at 489 Sanford Road. This is the American Legion building on Sanford Road. Jim, you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, so this is the standard lease agreement that we've had with the Post for a number of years. It's actually expired a couple of years ago. They've requested that it be renewed. The conditions are the same. They're looking to remove one paragraph that essentially gave the town the right to use the first floor as a polling place. We're no longer using that as a polling place, so I don't see an issue removing that paragraph. I'd recommend approval.
So my question on that one is, the church, the diocese is allowing us to use the Our Lady of Grace for voting, right? But if they were to decide not to allow us to use it for voting, then we would need to go back to the American Legion, right? So how long is this term for?
I believe it's 3 years.
Do we have,
According to
we
the
don't have
town-
a, do we have a contract with the diocese?
We don't.
We don't,
No,
yeah.
No, and speaking of the town clerk, she's hoping to move a number of the precincts into the new school.
Oh, right, she's not looking to move back
Yeah,
there.
no.
Okay.
It's not ideal.
Okay. That was the only question I had. Anybody have any other?
Wouldn't you want the flexibility? I mean, I don't know, why is it impacting the agreement at all if you had the flexibility if for some reason something happened?
I'm okay with her leaving it in. I don't, either way. It was the Post that had requested the lease taken, removing that one paragraph in the lease.
I'm not familiar with George, is more.
Oh,
Oh, George, you wanna, sorry, I didn't know you had relevant information.
So, George Stelgis, 765 Hicksbridge, and I'm the chaplain for the American Legion. We met about the lease, we looked at it, and we just thought since it hadn't been used as a polling place in years, that it made sense to take that out. That was the reason why we made that recommendation.
Okay. I do think the town clerk is trying to consolidate precincts too, so.
Okay.
All right, any discussion? What's the pleasure of the board? Do you want to remove it? We not want to remove it.
Madam Chair, I move the recommendation to revise and approve the case accordingly.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have Bill Chase, you want to come up? We have a request to approve the Director of Marine Services job description and appoint William P. Chase Jr. to the position. This is William Chase Jr. Welcome.
Madam Chair?
So you'll recall that on the night of town meeting, we learned of the resignation of Christopher Leonard, the current Director of Marine Services, effective July 2nd, I think. And so we agreed to post the position of Director of Marine Services. We did post it, and we received, I think, 4 well-qualified applicants for the position. 3 of them were Westport residents, so we gave them preference in the screening process. And ultimately, we interviewed 2 candidates, Mr. Chase and one other candidate. The interview panel, it was a surprise to all of us, I think, that there was a panel interview, but the people who interviewed the applicants were Chief Dunn, myself, Jim Hartnett, Carl Tripp from the Harbor Advisory Committee, and then Chris Brewster from the Shellfish Advisory Committee. We spent about 45 minutes to an hour with each candidate. It was pretty long. And we covered topics like managing people in a department, managing budgets. We talked about emergency response. We talked about waterway and shellfish enforcement. And we talked about the shellfishing program in general. Both candidates were very well qualified. The discussion was around the wish we could have a harbor master and a shellfish warden again and hire both of them because they were very complementary to each other. But ultimately, it was the unanimous decision of the group to recommend Bill Chase for the position. So you have Bill's resume. He's a longtime mariner. He's from tugboats to transportation barges to fishing vessels in the Bering Sea. He has also been a member, he's been working as an assistant harbor master for 2 seasons, right?
This will be my 3rd.
This will be the 3rd season. So one of the things that the group thought was really advantageous about Bill was that he has some familiarity. He has a lot of familiarity with the Westport River and with the department and all the people that are working there, along with staffing and processes. And given that the changeover is happening in July, which is not great for a changeover of that position, we thought that continuity was going to be really important. Plus, we just thought he was a fabulous guy. So I am recommending that we appoint Bill Chase to the position of Director of Marine Services. Do you want to say anything, Bill?
Well, first of all, thank you for your time. Thank you for the recommendation. This is a big job. As we talked about, this is really 2 jobs in one. And I have to really mention Chris from the get-go because he's held this down for 10 years. And I've seen him operate on a day-to-day basis. And he's done a terrific job. I think we all owe him a debt of gratitude, especially the shell fishermen, because not just the harbor master issues and everything that they bring, but the shell fishermen bring their own set of issues, shall we say, and he handled all that very well. And I think on top of that, as far as budget issues go, he has left the department in very good shape going forward. So starting on July 1 with a new budget, and the ideas that I have going forward, I think they will mesh pretty well. My first call when all this started coming to be was to Chief Dunn. So last Wednesday, I met with Chief Dunn, Chief Baldwin, and their 2 deputies, Deputy Chief Rebello and Deputy Chief Brisk. And we had a discussion about how we could integrate the Harbor Master's Department into police, fire, EMS. A lot of that centered around communications, training, so on and so forth. It was a great discussion. So at the end of all that, we have agreed that some of the police details on the weekends could be put aboard one of the boats so that we could kind of show the badge, if you will, out on the river. And then Chief Baldwin introduced me to Lieutenant Nunes, who was the training officer over there. And he said, whenever you guys need to train, whatever you want me to do, whatever I can do for you to get you up to speed in regard to medical training, just say the word. So it was just a great discussion all around, and I think we can integrate ourselves into that department in a more effective way.
Great, thank you. Anybody have anything for Bill?
I echo Bill's sentiments with Chris Leonard. I think he did a yeoman's job dealing with the tasks that he was faced with. And I've met Bill before, and he's, I think he's going to be the right person for the job and do a great job and maybe bring some efficiencies and some kind of collaboration with the other departments in town. So it'd be great to have you, Bill. Thank you.
Anything else? So I'll move Bill Chase as director and to approve the job description.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Welcome aboard.
Thank you all. I brought my posse.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good interview when there's a point in the interview that they go, "Let me take you to the Bering Sea." We have a request from the Infrastructure Oversight Committee to set the water rate at 830 CCF as of July 1, 2025. Can you come forward? Welcome, gentlemen. You want to introduce yourselves?
Good evening. I had a little work done on my
Looking good.
sun damage when I was probably goes back, I don't know, maybe when I was a kid. But it's a continuing exercise for me. I'm Bob Daler, and I'm the vice chair of the Infrastructure Oversight Committee. And as you just said, Madam Chairman, we're here to recommend a rate increase. And to bring a rate increase, I think even at this rate, won't bring the investment fund totally solvent, but it'll reduce the deficit we now have. And the recommendation also is consistent with everything that we told the public at the large public hearing when we extended the water system this year. So with that, Maureen has done the analysis, but I think simply we can summarize our recommendation and answer any questions that you might have.
So I would like to propose just a simple presentation here, which has two parts. Essentially, we are buying water from Fall River for $7.21 per CCF, and we're charging our customers $7.28. And this is a very, very small margin, and the margin should have never gotten that small. But that minimal margin is not covering the $50,000 of operating expenses. Yes, it covers the commodity charge for the water to Fall River, but it does not cover the operating expenses. We have about 10 vendors that charge us $35,000 a year, and then we've got unbilled water revenues, kind of lost water, and that's $15,000. So we have a deficit there of about $50,000 in operating expenses that we must cover. But there's an easy solution, very easy solution, because in 2003, your predecessors on the Board of Selectmen came up with a policy, and that policy is to charge our ratepayers 15% over the Fall River charge. And 15% over 721 is $8.29, which we have rounded up to $8.30 in our request. So that's what we are requesting, a new rate of $8.30. That's the major part. The smaller part that I built into the model is to raise the fixed charge from $100 a year, which is $25 a quarter, to $120 a year, which is $30 a quarter. That raises about $4,000, but the major rate increase here has to do with the cost of the commodity of the water that we charge our customers. So that is the simple solution, and it gets more complicated from there, as our town administrator has pointed out to you on many occasions.
So first, I just want to talk about a procedural question. So the agenda posting said request to set the water rate at 830 CCF.
Yep.
It did not include the $5.
No, it did not.
So is it appropriate for us to consider that without that having been mentioned? I mean, on the one hand, we are talking about water rates. I feel like people.
It's a rate change. I think it's part of the rate change. I don't think
Okay.
it's significant enough to
Okay,
warrant a new posting.
okay. And then, okay, that's what I had. And, yeah, go ahead.
So Maury, so as you said, it's a 15% increase over what Fall River charges us.
Yes.
So in our talks with Fall River, as this system expands and they lower the rate to us, we would adjust the rate for our customers and just keep that 15% above that?
There are negotiations going on with Fall River that are multifaceted, as you know, and this gentleman here has been the one undertaking those negotiations. But you're right, there's a break point under discussion, and there's also, instead of being 70% over there, maybe it's 50% before the break point, and then the break point would bring it down to 5%. But I think...
I just want to make sure that the customers...
But that's all negotiation. Jim, do you want to make comments there?
We still don't have it finalized in Fall River. I think we're very close. You sat in on the mediation. I think we're going to reach that same point. And some things have to play out over the next year or two. We have a number of customers that are tying in. We'll have to see how much water use they use over the next couple of years, because that's going to play into it. Because there is a break-even point that we haven't finalized with Fall River, but we're hoping over a certain CCF, I think it's 26,000, that rate will reduce from 50% down to 5% over the rate. So that, along with the rate increase, will pretty much break us even at this point.
Yeah, but I said, the way we were talking, that 15% was already voted on at town meeting before.
Well, it's 70% now. We're hoping to go to 50%, which is what Fall River charges other municipalities. We seem to be getting
No,
a...
what I'm just looking at is as we
bad
try to
price.
expand this system, and explain to these people, like, this is what we're supposed to charge 15% over, so if Fall River starts charging us less, which I believe, you know, the 5 years I've been involved in it, that's what's supposed to happen, that these people, we're not gonna tell them now that that's gonna happen, and then it doesn't happen. I just wanna make that clear to the people that are trying to tie in.
So this is a simple approach. We have currently underway an expansion of the water enterprise. And we're going from 168 customers to at least 200, and hopefully more as time goes on, but we do have indications of 30 people plus who will plug into the system, along with, of course, Macklemore School and several of the businesses along Route 6. So we're hopeful that, you know, we can grow the system a little bit and, you know, have, you know, there's better finances in growth. And so hopefully we can achieve that.
So I think that, I think the kind of the moral of this story is we should have been revisiting the water rates more frequently in the first place, right? So,
Yes, it was
So
one-
we should have been if we had a policy of 15% over, we should have been evaluating, you know, how much we're
Exactly
getting
right.
charged. And then to Manny's point, the more volume of water that we purchase, the lower per unit cost we have from Fall River, so that'll help people. So I think really it's just going to be incumbent on us to stay on top of rate changes so that we, you know, go back and lower the rate when we need to. I also liked, you had in here that from 2015 to 2018, it was actually 880.
Sorry, say that again?
From 2015 to 2018, it was actually $8.80. So
It was.
it has been higher in the past. So even though this is a pretty significant it's $1 more per unit, but it has been higher in the past. So really, the residents have been kind of benefiting from a reduced rate for the last few years.
And Madam Chairman, do not forget inflation, because if you take 880 over the last 10 years, that gets to $11 a CCF.
Yeah. I know when we talked about this a few meetings ago, I was kind of opposed to making the rate increase that high. But now that you presented it so nicely in this information, I think I'm supportive of this increase.
And the sense of the oversight committee simply was when we have the enterprise funds, we should try to make them at least break even. And that looking at the rate increase, looking at the rate period should be something that is done periodically. And so there was a sense of the meeting, and the 830 really came from the current rates. And I think if under the negotiations, the rates come down, that is, the wholesale rate to us comes down, then we should look at that 15% policy and reduce that proportionally for the customers. So it was just a sense of, can we act now to bring the deficit down and bring the enterprise fund into balance for the town?
Thank you.
Is, just a quick one, is that 15% an actual ceiling, or can it be higher than the 15% over the rate?
It is the policy that the Select Board passed in
Good writing,
effective March 1st, 2003.
Okay.
New water rate is 15% per cubic feet over what Fall River charges Westport. And that was the policy effective March 1st, 2003, which, as Shauna mentioned, really has not been followed. Now, you can change the policy, but if you want a quick, simple solution, all you have to do is follow the policy by the old Board of Selectmen.
So just a quick question. So at this point, recommending that we go up to 830 and then see how that plays out for the year. And then as the rates, if they do change, we don't need the funds, we can either reduce or adjust them at that time.
Yeah. This is the second time I've come before this body to discuss rates. And the last time, we were dealing with an 880 rate, as you pointed out. And it was a lot easier to lower rates. We lowered them from 880, 20% down to 7.04. And several years ago, it was raised from 704 to 728. But rates can come down. They don't always have to go up. And if we grow into this new expansion nicely, and we get the break points and the lower surplus and the growth that Jim was talking about, there could be a rate decrease, but right now we need the 830.
What is your question?
Shauna, just a quick comment that before the motion's made. I've been pretty much, even through recently in my campaign, adamantly opposed to the water situation. I don't think Westport should be getting into becoming a utility company. Eversource, Liberty, and now Westport Utility Company will continue to increase those rates. So I just am concerned of that. 60% of the town voted against water and sewer, and I know that's done and that's in the past. But again, I'm going to stand in opposition to this based on what I've said in the past and how I feel that we should not be engaging in this. So that's my simple answer for when I vote in opposition. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we reinstate in practice the 2003 policy adopted by this board.
And are you
Sure.
also recommending that we set the rate at
Yes.
830?
Yes, which would in effect set the rate at 830.
Okay.
Second.
Just one more thing on that. So one of the other things that I've been hearing in Fall River too is their residents complaining about the cost of the water and how they've been funding it. And so I do know that they're working to try to lower the rates on that end. So I think, water's necessary and everybody's trying to work in that direction. So that's why I will be in favor of this. I would be more in favor of maybe Fall River wanted to take over the water system. I think that would be a little bit easier. But we'll see what happens in the future.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to follow the 15% water rule set by our predecessors and set the rate at 830. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Opposed?
So that's 4 in favor, 1 opposed. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
F, we have a request from Chief Dan Baldwin to approve the fire engine contract with Bulldog Fire Apparatus, a local company. You want to tell us about this one?
Yeah, this is, This is good news. The chief's been working hard on this. He originally thought it would take about 3 years to order the fire engine and to get it equipped and constructed, but I guess my understanding is this Bulldog company had purchased some equipment early on, knowing that there would be some issues, and they still have a couple of fire engines ready to be sold, so it's something that we may be able to get on board within a year or so. He purchases through a joint purchasing agreement, so it followed the procurement regulations. He's got a better price than what he initially anticipated. I think we had appropriated $950,000 for it, and we're at just under $900,000. This will go up a little bit as they add a little bit of some of the computers and some of the specialty equipment to the fire engine, but overall, I thought it was going to come in higher, so for me, I'm excited about it. So I would recommend approval.
No, and it's a local business. That's
Yeah.
a good thing. Second,
Or you have to make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, you move.
Second it.
Okay, go ahead.
Madam Chair, could I ask through you that Jim explained the funding? Remember, this is the item that we discussed at the Capital Improvement Planning Committee, or is it not?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
And it was not fully funded immediately. It was, at town meeting, we approved, I think it was like a third of it or something, with a plan, thinking that it wouldn't be for 3 years, that we could add to that, I guess it's the capital fund, so we'd be able to get to what was then $950,000, if I recall. So could you just go over that?
Yeah, so we used two funding sources, and one was 400 and one was 450, and one was free cash, and the other one came from the assessor's overlay account. So at the end of each year, depending on how the taxes fall, in order to get our 2.5% increase in tax revenue, some of that fund goes into the assessor's overlay, and they had excess money in there, so we were able to utilize that money to get us up to the 950 this year, as opposed to waiting the 3 years.
Okay, that's what I was thinking about, and that explains it.
Madam Chair, I have a question. So like when we fund these purchases, I mean, and it was thinking to go over, like it was going to go 3 years before we needed it, so we were going to put away for it. I mean, couldn't we got such a good bond rating, couldn't they just borrow and fund it that way over the 3 years?
Well, town meeting already approved the whole.
No, I'm just looking for the future. I'm just asking a question.
Oh, okay.
They could, we would need authorization
No, I just, okay.
to borrow, but yeah,
That's what-
it's something I think the committee looked at, or discussed anyway, whether do you bond some of these items, or do you go out and purchase them, and I think Sue Brayton, one of the things that she looked at was actually establishing, through the capital stabilization fund, funding that almost as kind of like a borrowing source, so we could borrow from that to purchase large capital items.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from Chris Gonzalez, the highway surveyor, to approve the DOT Chapter 90 project request for town paving improvements. Approximately 24,500 feet of, I didn't see this one in our packet, this contract.
It's in the,
Did I miss it?
you probably didn't, you may not.
Did
Paula
anybody
left me in
see it?
charge, so I may have missed.
Okay, so, so what, we didn't have it to review, so do you guys want to talk about it anyway, or do you want to wait till next meeting?
Wait, next, it doesn't impact till July 1 anyway, right?
Yeah,
The
well, it's
funding.
Chapter 90, and highway surveyor's in charge of Chapter 90 stuff, so it really doesn't have too much to do with us.
I mean, I'm fine with approving it.
Got to approve the project. The project request just gets, select board signs the project request submitted by the highway surveyor.
So they come before us for each project then?
Yes, so this
Okay.
project request will actually go to Mass DOT. If Mass DOT approves it, then they will go out to bid for the project.
Okay.
All right.
So it's kind of a preliminary
It's kind of-
approval.
I'm okay with
I'd
it.
recommend moving forward if you feel
Okay.
comfortable
Because
doing it.
we would hope that some of this would be underway this year.
We'd look to get a
So
construction.
any
yes.
delay that we would have would delay the implementation of the project during the key season for construction work.
Yeah, we can move forward. I just was pointing out that we didn't have it. So do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. And now we get to our discussion items. So you are all in receipt of a letter of resignation from Jim Hartnett. He is retiring effective September 30th. I'm going to pause. Did you want to say anything, Jim?
I'm still here for a few months, but, I just want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to work here for the town. Yeah, very fortunate. You know, I've worked in a number of communities, I've worked for a number of communities, I've done work in other communities. Westport has some great staff, we have some great people working here. Not always appreciated throughout the public, but they really are. We're very fortunate. And then beyond that, just the volunteers and the elected officials and appointed officials and the boards that work here, people put in a tremendous amount of time. And without the volunteers, without the appointees, things are not going to get done here in Westport because we just don't get the resources and the funding that we need to operate on our own. So it's been great. I still got a few more months, so I look forward to that, and I'll do whatever we can to make a smooth transition going forward.
So I'll just express my dismay at your departure, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to say goodbye. But that brings up two topics that are related, so I'm just going to introduce the both of them, and then we can talk about them. So the first one is actually B on the discussion item. So Jim has put together an RFQ for a search firm to go out and recruit. And what are the search? It's listed in the contract. The activities that the search firm does. We did use a search firm when we hired Jim. We used one, Tim King.
Yeah.
Tim King before you. It's kind of a way to make sure that you're getting the word out there in the right forums for the right people, and then help you all the coordination for the hiring tests and things like that. So one of the things we need to talk about is whether we want to move forward with an executive search RFQ, and we had a chance to review that. The second one that I want to bring up, just so we're discussing them at the same time, is whether we want to take this opportunity to reorganize the select board staff in the department. So right now, we have 3 full-time positions under the select board. We have the town administrator, we have the secretary to the select boards, that's currently Denise Bouchard, who has announced her retirement effective, I forget,
The end of August.
end of August. And then we have Paula holding down the fort as the administrative assistant and principal clerk, I think is what you are, right? So Paula has not announced her resignation.
Not yet.
Maybe she's gonna go for town administrator.
But in the past, we've talked about whether we've talked about the burdens that the town administrator has. The town administrator has something like 18 people. I forget how many people. You have many direct reports and a great number of responsibilities. So Jim dug up the 2005 Barrows report, which actually recommended changing the position to an assistant town administrator with HR and procurement responsibilities. And so we should talk about whether we want to consider doing that. Do we want to hire just the replacement with the job description that Denise had, or do we want to kind of elevate that position so that they can take on some more responsibilities and kind of cover for the town administrator? So that's the background. So what do we want to talk about? Anybody? Or Jim, do you want to start by?
I'll just say, like I said, the Barrows report kind of outlines an assistant town administrator. I did look at a number of the communities in the area. They name that position, there's different names for it. There's assistant to the town administrator, there's town administrative assistant administrator, assistant to the administrator, and a couple of other names in there. But essentially, all the positions, what I found, have more of a HR role than currently exists. I caution other departments, and I've said this because as soon as I mention that to some of the other departments, they get very excited that a lot of their HR responsibilities will be shifted away, but we're not hiring new people, we're not creating new positions. The position is still, it's a full-time position as is, so any additional responsibilities are going to be limited. But I think if we could give whatever role that is, or whatever we call that position, a little bit more HR responsibility, it's going to make a big difference.
And then your recommendation that you printed here for us was that we work with the personnel board to create a new job description.
Yes.
I mean, it may be 20 years old, but it's probably not a bad idea to circulate the Barrows report. It was still fresh in people's minds when I first ran, I don't know, 16 years ago. And again, you know, it may be dated in some respects, and some of the examples may not ring true if they're talking about area communities, but it gives us, they did do a hands-on
project with the town.
So, I mean, my thought is, so the select board does not have representation on the personnel board, so my thought was to have a select board representative work with the personnel committee to kind of draft something up, because it would be reporting to us, so that we could help kind of frame that. I agree, we should distribute that.
Yeah.
If you dug up the report to find the little bit, you can send us the rest of it. So I guess, is that something we want to talk about with the personnel board, or is it something we don't need to do?
I mean, I think this offers us an opportunity to come almost restructure it. I think you're right from the standpoint of trying to make it a little bit more efficient, clearly defined kind of job description and job titles. So I think it's a good thing to do. My question is if you do change that title, do we have budget money, and how would that work if it was a highly or more elevated position? Do we have money in the budget for that, to address that, or how would that work?
So we do. Currently, this year, town meeting appropriated an additional $50,000 into that budget. My guess is that my position, in order to attract somebody, may require additional funds as well. And I think if you're going to add HR to this, we're going to have to bump that up, maybe 15,000, somewhere in that range, maybe a little bit more, give or take.
So we have an additional 50,000, but yeah, both of those things are going to.
You have to break it up in between two positions, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it offers us a good opportunity to look at it. I don't think it's something we want to rush, per se. I think we want to look at the report, figure it out, and then determine really what that job description will entail, so that we're not, and then at the same time, some of the stuff that Paula does and her responsibilities maybe can be shifted or take on more responsibilities. So I'm all for moving forward with, obviously a new job description, looking at that. Something that I think we want to put some time and effort into it before we kind of move forward with that. That's just my opinion.
Again, we did that salary study about a year and a half ago. Maybe worth refreshing that. If we're circulating the Barrows report, we might as well look at the salary study, because that'll get to some of the compensation issues, where we looked at like communities in the region, in the state, and how they're compensating for. That's good news. We have it. The bad news is we were always in the lower percentiles of those studies for almost nearly every position management position in town. So.
Yeah. So I think we should work with the personnel board. Does anybody here want to volunteer to work with the personnel board on this?
Well, I guess we're two of us now.
Huh?
That's fine. I would volunteer, but if you want to do it.
Do the two of you want to work together?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Is everybody okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to task Jake and Craig with working with the personnel board to kind of relook at the Barrows report, the salary history, talk to Jim, see what his take is. Yeah, it might not be ready for like the next meeting, but yeah, I think that's good. So.
Or maybe we can discuss the findings of the next meeting and then
Yeah.
vote for it for the following one.
Yeah.
So what do you say, that Barrows report's 5 years old?
2005 is 20 years old.
20 years old.
Yeah, I think we got,
No,
we
but
got
the
issues all
salaries-
around us with town administrators, so we need to look into that a little bit. I mean, we don't have to soak the job too long. If it's September, we got a little bit of time.
Well, that's the Denise job that we're talking about right now.
Okay. So that one we gotta move.
Well,
We could have it done mid-July and then
Yeah.
post it then, with 2 more meetings probably.
got to make sure to protect Paula from fallout. Well, Jim will still be here.
Gross abandonment.
All right, so I don't think we need to vote on that. We're tasking you guys that. And then, what do you guys think about the executive search consultant? Jim, do you want to talk about how you put together the RFQ?
Yeah, so we just kind of borrowed an RFQ from another community, but they're all the same, right? I've looked at 3 or 4 of them. We wrote something up. Previously, you could just go out and get 3 quotes because it was under 10,000, but prices have gone up. Over 10,000, so we have to go out for quotations. So what I would do is I would send, if the board chooses, I will send the request for quotes out to, I think there's probably 3 or 4 companies that I'm aware of, and we would post it in Combis as well, so anybody could look. And I'd like to have a short turnaround, maybe 3 or 4 weeks before they, so maybe the first week in July, the select board could sign with one of the companies if the board wants to go forward with that.
Is there anybody who thinks we should not do that?
No. Do we have in Massachusetts or in the Commonwealth, is there a trade association or a group for actual town administrators? And are we members of that?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a formal group. There may be. There's a listserv that we all participate in, which is, you know, I see those advertisements coming over all the time. Then you get the Mass Municipal Association, where any of these types of jobs we post in there, and anybody that's interested usually looks at that.
Okay.
What I did find with, at least the process that I went through a few years ago, was that the consultant kind of works with the community to get through the whole process, right? They will recommend to the select board a salary range. They will recommend, they do the background checks on all of the people. They work with the search committee, the preliminary search committee, to kind of schedule the meetings, to give them some general questions to ask, things to look for. And then when it comes before the select board, they participate in the process as well, kind of not leading the candidates, but hosting or moving the process along.
In that process, from the get-go, is it just the executive search committee involved in that, or are members of the select board involved in that, or we get the recommendation at the end, you know?
So you can do it any way you want. What I've seen, I think last time when I was involved, I don't believe there were any select board members on the preliminary search committee.
Okay.
They recommended 3 candidates to the select board, and they came before the select board for the final interviews.
Okay.
What that allows them to do is the preliminary interviews can be held in executive session. The final ones have to be open session. So you tend to get more participation from people that may not want to broadcast it. They're leaving another community or looking elsewhere.
In the executive session, yeah.
Until they come to the final meeting, so.
Okay.
Super awkward in an open meeting interview, too.
When you're,
It's awkward on that side, too.
when you're employed at another municipality.
Did, Evan Gendro sitting in the audience, did you guys use a search firm for the superintendent?
We did not.
You didn't this time, okay.
No, we created a committee, but we also have an HR director.
Right,
who would do the initial vetting and bring it to the search committee, which met the executive.
Yeah, all right. So for those of you who didn't hear, the school committee didn't, but they have an HR director who kind of did some of that.
I think on the front end, I think that's helpful. And in the hiring that I've done in the past, it's helpful.
Yeah,
to
it's tricky, it's tricky because you can't use Jim.
Yep, yep.
So I think we should go ahead with the RFQ. I mean, we can always say no later.
Yep, that makes sense.
Is everybody okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we don't need to vote, do we?
We don't?
Okay. Town administrator report.
Just a quick budget update. Town accountant's been working to initiate the closeout process for FY '25. Line item transfers, end-of-year transfers will be coming before the select board and the finance committee over the next couple of weeks. Nicole continues to monitor the collection of local receipts. As of the close of the third quarter, local receipts are tracking in line with budget projections at about 79% of annual costs. One of the big numbers that comes in is the motor vehicle excise tax, so that can really jump things around in the last quarter, but we don't anticipate any surprises. Massachusetts State Senate has approved its budget proposal, and their receipts and assessments are again in line with what we had estimated for FY '26. So right now, everything, and again, things can change, but right now, everything looks consistent with what we were looking for, what we budgeted for, and what was approved at town meeting. The retirement we had talked about, and then software, we continue to work on a number of software projects. The website, Carol Freitas, she's been doing a tremendous job, and I mentioned this before, but again, if I realized how much work was needed to switch sites, we may have maintained our existing site and just upgraded, but I think it's going to be a nice site when it's done, and we're hoping by the end of June to get that online. Cemetery department, there was a private website that was being used. CPC had done a nice job of getting this up and running. They'd use volunteers to do a lot of the background work, but it's time to move that from a private site to public site so that we have access and control and just control over the data going forward. Mike Brulard over at the cemetery department's been working on this. Some sites has migrated all the data from the private site onto ours, and it came over clean. It was surprisingly good format, and it looks like we're going to be able to use all of it. A couple of things will be put into notes, but they were in notes to begin with, so yes, that was a good thing.
As a person who does this for a living, I could tell you that is shocking.
You know, yes, I was surprised.
Data conversion is the worst.
There's still some, I don't want to say bugs to work out, but they're going through it, and it looks good. We haven't seen the official, what the website will look at, so there'll be kind of two versions, one for the staff, to be able to look up things and to organize things. We can do work orders, we can do a number of other things that we can't do with the existing site, and we'll kind of introduce those little by little as time goes on. And then the permitting software, Mike Barris over at the planning office has been overseeing this. It's been up and running in the building and fire departments. I haven't checked with the fire department, but I know the building is going well. People have been happy with it, not only in the department, but others that use it from the outside contractors and so forth. Planning is scheduled to go live on June 10th, conservation shortly thereafter. Zoning Board of Appeals will also have an application with that, and the Board of Health will be looking sometime in August. They'll be one of the last ones to go on. They're also looking at the town clerk, and we haven't mentioned this to Paula yet, but there is a licensing application too that we haven't ruled out, that we'll look towards the end to see if that actually makes things better going forward. So there's been a lot of changes. You know, the software, Zobrio, the town accountant and town treasurer, are looking to go online in July with upgraded software for Zobrio, which the town accounting software, the assessors department just updated their software. So there's been some big changes. These doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot of work for the staff when you do any of these software updates. So very appreciative of the work that they put in. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Jim. We have the minutes from May 12th.
I reviewed the minutes and make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a report on the bill warrant.
There actually are two this time because we skipped a meeting. The first one is 5/16, May 16th. Totally good, and $2.2 million, which is a fairly ordinary number. Then there was one for 5/30. That was only $2.3 million, again, right within the normal range. There was a little quirk here, and I'm not sure why I do this, if I do it for information or if I'm trying to prove to you that I'm doing my job, but there was a voided check for $480,000, and it was just one of these things that I've never seen before around here. And, I mean, I've had voided checks, my wife has too, but not for that amount. And anyway, I was just curious as to what happened. It was a check for Diamond, and it was damaged at the post office and got mangled, and so they brought it back. It was all documented and reissued, but I thought that was interesting. So anyway, that's it. These don't have to be approved. Everything's in order.
We used to have, Craig will remember this, we used to have many, many, many voided checks when they didn't put them in the printer right. It was pretty common. All right, so now we have liaison committee reports and future agenda discussion items. So Craig, you want to start?
Yeah, I did, we did have a meeting since our last meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust. That's the good news. The bad news is I had a conflict, so I was not there. But I did, we had a copy of the minutes, and we also had Jim Saber, the immediate past chair of the committee, ably ran the committee, and he debriefed me before the minutes were issued for the last week. We had a presentation from the Zoning Board of Appeals Chair Roger Menard. Actually, I'm looking at the wrong month on that one. But we also reissued our RFP for the search for land for affordable housing development. As you know, we had some interest, but we ran into some difficulties with respect to right-of-way access to the property, and for the size of development that we would want to put on the property, the right-of-way was too narrow and not adequate for large public safety equipment such as fire trucks to come in and navigate. So that was, so because of that, and we only had one qualified applicant on the surface, we have issued a new RFP for it.
All right, thank you. Dick?
A couple of things going on. First of all, CERTA, we had a meeting on 5/22, mainly talking about the budget, but as I mentioned before, what's interesting is bus service is free by way of a grant from the state. And it was a temporary measure, and we've all been wondering how long does this last, because if it ends, that's people get used to this and that could create a reaction. In any event, the CERTA management believes they will be able to continue this program for maybe the next couple of years, so that was good news. Everything else in that regard is going well. Beverly mentioned that they had a meeting this morning. I was there as the liaison to the Council on Aging. That one was notable because it included the Friends of the council. They're the fundraising arm for all intents and purposes. They were there. It was a joint meeting. We had a regular meeting, then we had a joint meeting, and we had lunch, and it was a good exchange. And they do great work to help fund the needs of the Council on Aging. One committee that hasn't met yet, but will tomorrow night at 5:30, is the Open Space and Recreation Committee. We approved Lisa Feidelberg Costa tonight, and that will be off and running. We haven't had a meeting yet, so I can't really give you a report, but I wanted you to know it's going to start to happen. The Landing Commission met on 5:20. I was unfortunately not able to make the meeting, but I was briefed by Chairman Jeff Bull afterwards. They're still working on a number of issues, and including the area west of Hicks Bridge. There's a landing there. It hasn't been used for years. It recently was cleared out with some work and tree work. But anyway, it was just an update on a number of things that had taken place. It was the Masonic Temple discussions were mentioned there. We talked about that. So nothing to act on here, but just to let you know we're keeping that going. I do have an item, Madam Chair, for future meetings, which this item relates to, and that's relating to the Long-Term Building Committee. Jim and I did talk about this today, so full disclosure here, but we're supposed to have a report available to us in June from the consultants, which is very important to this project. And I guess there is I've seen on the website, a meeting for this Thursday in the annex. I believe it's at 4 or 4:30, but in any
4
event.
PM hybrid, I'm looking at
4 p.m.
I admitted that in my report, too, as your liaison to that committee.
Okay. But anyway, I would hope that something would come out of that, and we would have at least a discussion on the old high school building project, or possible building project, whatever, at the next meeting. It might be premature. They may not have the full report for a little longer, but I think we have to keep on top of this, is what I guess my point is. So I mentioned it for that purpose only, but I'm sure it'll run its course, and we're getting close to getting the report anyway.
Craig, did you want to add?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that we're meeting tomorrow night, Thursday night, is to get an update from the consultant with respect to where they're heading in terms of near-term recommendations.
Oh, all right, thank you.
We're also knocking up against our time frame for trying to get a deliverable from them, too, so I think that's probably the other reason. Evan, you're vice chair of that committee, aren't you?
I think I'm vice chair, no, I don't believe so.
Well, you're a member.
All right, so we'll know more after Thursday, sounds like.
Yes, we will. We will have something to report on at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple. So we had a meeting of the school building steering committee. We're trying to wrap up the project, so it's not wrapped yet. It still needs to wrap up. I do want to call out that CHA, who's the owner's project manager, I think we're on number 10 project managers. They've had quite a bit of turnover. The good news is, I think, that when the new people come on, they get kind of eager to learn about it and they work on stuff. So there's still some work going on to evaluate the drainage from the roof and the gutter system, so I think we're going to get an update there. They were trying to have a school building committee meeting this week, I think, but I don't see it
Yes,
posted,
that's-
so.
no, not ready. Hopefully in the next week or two.
All right, so hopefully there'll be a regular school building committee soon, because like I said, we're trying to wrap up the project. We're still under budget, we still have money, like if we have to repair the roof, we still have some money to do that, so. I also attended a meeting of the Climate Resilience Committee, so Jake was there too. There's been a study going on about whether the Gooseberry Causeway is causing erosion on East Beach. And I'm sure there's going to be a formal report to many people about this. But I think it surprised a lot of people. The findings of that report were that no, it was not causing any significant impact on erosion on East Beach. That the island itself that is already there is the primary, and the tides. So it didn't appear as though the causeway is making a significant impact. But they went through a very detailed program about how they did that and the modeling, and like I said, I think they'll come present the report sooner or later. And then also, I just want to note for the public, because this was in our correspondence folder, we're in receipt of a letter from Liberty Utilities that they intend to make a rate increase, a 37% increase, which would equate to about $57 per month on your gas bill. So they are referring people to visit Liberty Utilities' website for more information. So just want to make sure nobody lost that in their correspondence folder. And that's all I have.
It's, to the chair, I think it's a function of some of the policies being pushed out of Boston that impacts a lot of the utility companies. So I wouldn't want to miss that, putting that opportunity out there. I think the impact that we now see along our shoreline is one of the major issues that is subsidized through many of the charges on your Eversource and Liberty bills. Thank you.
I agree with that. I mean, the committee was on the rates, I wasn't involved in it, so I don't really have anything to report.
Okay, Jake?
The only thing that I was bringing up, I'm not the select board appointee on the offshore wind, but if we can reach out to Westport River Watershed to get, I think Mike Sullivan wanted to be appointed before our next meeting.
Did we?
I don't think we officially did that here, did we?
Did we not do that yet?
No.
Okay,
So I just want to get that on the next agenda before the meeting we have in July.
I thought we did. It was my mistake.
So-
It's probably because Paula left it to Jim, because I think we have the letter. Oh,
I know we traded emails. I don't know if it was officially done here.
okay, so if it's not, we'll put it on. All right, anything else?
No, I just have something in the comments and statement section.
Okay. So just reminding people that we have many boards and commissions on the vacancy list. Yeah, you can make your comment and statement. Do we have comments from the public before we give it to Jake? Okay.
I just want to follow up. Jim, myself, and Jason Powell are working with the Masonic Lodge on the landing. I think we're waiting for some correspondence back from our insurance company. I think one of the major issues was the concern of liability on their part, and we're looking to try to find a way to do, fully indemnify them to use it for a short-term basis. So I sat down with the lodge and the members, and it was a very good meeting. I think they're receptive to it. I think there's some concessions on each side that we hopefully can make and make it work. So I know we're getting late in the season, but I think we may have the opportunity to get it hopefully buttoned up in hopefully by next meeting. But you're dealing with a lot of different personalities, and I think we had a very, very good discussion, and they're very, very receptive. I think they're ready to make it work. So,
Great.
thank you.
Madam Chair. So Jim, you did give me the deed from over there. As looking at the deed, were you guys able to find the agreement for that deed?
I didn't notice any agreement. All I found was the deed and the town meeting warrant article that approved.
There should be an agreement somewhere for it, and because I just noticed there was some things that was X'd out on the deed that I couldn't read. So I don't know, maybe we look at where did you get the copy of that deed?
I got that, we ordered it through the assessor's office. But we can check, I can check the address and see if there's anything else on
I'd go
file.
to the registry and pull it out of the registry first.
And if you find something, that'd be great.
I'm not saying me, I'm saying I would like to see that happen.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go to the registry.
No, I'm kind of a little busy and I don't get paid enough to be running around to do that for the town.
We'll take a look.
So I do want to just point out that our next meeting is in 2 weeks on that's the May calendar I keep looking at, on June 16. But then after that, we have another 3-week span because of the 4th of July holiday. So whatever that is. So so we're going to have a meeting on July 16, but then the next meeting after that will be July 7. So we're going to go 3 weeks.
In June.
No, it'll be July. We're going to meet on,
you said July
we're meeting on June 16.
Yes.
Yes, June 16, 2 weeks from today, and then July 7th. There, thank you. All
It
right,
may be a possibility that we may need a quick meeting between then,
to finalize for the
finalize
year.
some, yeah, there's a couple of things.
Okay. Let us
We'll
know.
try to make it work for the 16th.
Okay. All right, anything else?
The only,
Yeah.
the only other thing I have is short-term rentals. So the town bylaw, the zoning bylaw, once it's approved at town meeting, that's the effective date. But the town bylaws that were also approved at town meeting, those do not become effective until they're approved by the AG's office, which usually takes about 90 days. So probably looking July, August before we get that. So I'm hoping in July to have some information to the select board, whether or not the select board is going to adopt regulations to go along with that, or what the application's going to look like, how we move forward with it. So I'm hoping for July to get something to the board.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else?
Motion to approve. Motion to adjourn.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's